Yours was, I would say, well, very much a successful weight drop from when you started to now. What was your goal? What was your motivation? What allowed you to keep on track? Or explain how much you dropped, where you went from and to.
So I would say that I have been on a diet, like a conscious diet, for about 6 weeks. I started sometime at the end of October, so however many weeks that has been, and I dropped a little bit over 4 kilos. But I will say that the way I'm dieting, I haven't been dieting every single day of every single week, and I did even have like sort of a maintenance week where I really haven't been pushing the calories. Some of it has coincided with my period where my hunger is naturally higher, and some of it has just coincided with me being hungry and craving certain foods. So instead of just trying to push myself harder when I was already struggling, I just gave myself a little bit of time to maintain. This definitely wasn't a time where I would just go backwards, but it was a time where I would maintain my new lower weight.
So what was the tipping point then? So if you say you've been dieting for 6 weeks but not every single day, if you have a day, you wake up Sunday and you're like, is this going to be a diet day? Is it not? Outside of things like your period where you can sort of, you can plan for it, what denoted whether that day was, is it just how you felt in the morning or through the day, or did it get to the end of the day and you were like, sod it, this isn't a diet day? Like,
I guess it varied a lot, so I can't really say that it was super strictly planned. I have talked about it before that I find the weekends a bit harder because my routine is very different, or there is not much of a routine, and I do quite well when it's a weekday and a work day, and I can just manage my intake quite easily. And then as long as I'm not like starving myself throughout the day, then I don't get to the evening feeling like I want to eat everything. But the weekends are a little bit harder, just going out, maybe having some pastries before or after a run, or during, like yesterday. And then just generally some days just feeling maybe a bit more stressed. If I'm sleeping less, that has a massive impact on how hungry I am, and those days are always harder. And I would say that the amount of weight that I have dropped is significant, but the amount of effort that I put in the diet doesn't seem as much, which is quite a nice thing. And I think that is what made it like easy enough. Like even on the weeks or the days where I am not really watching strictly how I'm eating or how much or what I'm eating, I know that I don't massively deviate probably from my overall intake, although I am not counting calories. It just kind of goes based on how I feel, I guess, most of the time, which I do admit is a bit of a luxury and has come on the back of having dieted before successfully in the past, and having worked on my relationship with food a lot. So I don't ever feel like I start a binge that I have to finish. It's just that I might eat more chocolate, but then I don't have to eat the whole pack. Like I know when I'm full and then I just stop eating it, so it doesn't feel out of control, which I think is the biggest difference. So it almost feels more of a choice, because I know that I can just diet the next day. Like I don't have to diet every day.
so would you say that to be able to have the level of control that you have over a diet, to be able to wake up one day, realise and reflect that you may have had some, less sleep, you may have trained a lot, your periods coming, like all these factors that are realistic factors that will affect your hunger and your energy needs as well, and then you make that choice to maybe eat certain foods that you wouldn't typically on a day that you're dieting more so, because to have that sort of flexibility requires a lot of control, to be able to eat pastries, to be able to eat chocolate, to be able to do these things knowing that you're still on track and not freaking out and being like, that's it, the diet's done, like we're going to stop it now. That you had to do certain things before that, like you mentioned your relationship with food, because if you haven't dealt with that first, it's almost impossible to be able to have the control over that flexibility. So how did you, because that's like a whole episode by itself, is like relationship with food, but if briefly you could explain how you managed that part, because I think that's the part that one is very individualized, but where do you start with understand, like how do you start with understanding your relationship with food, because I think that's so paramount before the logistical stuff and that part.
Yeah, I agree, and this might have to be completely separate from our discussion now, because it is just so much nuance that it will be difficult to cover everything. But if I just had to kind of summarize it as quickly as I possibly can, I would probably say that I actually allowed myself to eat whatever and however much I wanted, believing that that is fine and not beating myself up about it, which has meant that I had days where I would only eat sweets, and then I might eat the same thing until I just didn't really want it anymore, because I knew that I can have it any day I wanted to have it. And it is, I'm not gonna lie, it is not a quick process. It is not something that just happened from one day to the other. And I think what was really important at this time, when I was doing this years and years ago, is that I did not try to diet. I did not try to control my weight at the same time of trying to fix my relationship with food. Because when you're trying to lose weight, even if you allow yourself to eat certain things, you don't actually believe that you could eat them, and you could eat however much. And I think a lot of people struggle with that they kind of say that they allow themselves, but then deep inside they don't believe that it is true, or that they can actually have them. And what is the difference for me is that I can have any of the foods. I just sometimes choose not to have them because I just genuinely don't feel like that's the thing I want to eat at the moment. Not because I shouldn't, just because I just don't, that's not what I want. And there are some days where I know that, like, I love a pastry, like those cinnamon rolls from M&S are like, I don't think there is a day in my week where I couldn't have one. But if I know that if I had one of those, then my training will not be as good. I will get hungry quite soon after. I have a lot of other things that I have to do in the day, and I might not have a better time to eat a more nutritious meal. And then that just kind of gets into this cycle of like the day just going downhill from where it started. Then it doesn't feel like a sacrifice that I say that, like, oh no, I'm not gonna have that pastry. But I also know that if I did want to have that pastry, I could go back and just get it any other day of the week when I do really want it. And just that knowledge is quite liberating. Big words, but I think that is the part that can feel so out of reach for, at least I know it felt really out of reach for me. Like, if I had a bar of chocolate in the cupboard, I would eat the whole thing. So either I didn't have any chocolate in the cupboard, or I will just eat it. And now, and for many years now, I tend to have a snack cupboard, and the snack cupboard tends to have all sorts of stuff inside. And I look into it, and if I fancy eating something when I crave some snacks, then I have it. And then there's days when I'm like not really fast. Like, I look into it, there's nothing there that I really want to eat at that moment. And then I close the door, and then I might just have an orange or some yogurt.
Well, snack cupboard has everything in it.
The snack cupboard does have everything. It's I highly recommend it if someone knows that they have their diet
fully under control. Yeah.
I don't really think control is the best word. I know you have been using it, but I don't feel like, because control seems like such a conscious thing. I feel like it is just just how my diet is. It's just how I live. It's not something that I feel like I have to make a conscious choice every single day not to have a snack, or every single day that like, oh, do I want a snack or not? Like, it's almost like just happening, and then I just have the choice to make of what to eat, rather than, oh, I shouldn't eat this or I shouldn't eat that. But I will say, when I'm getting my period, it is a free for all. Like, that is just hunger, like at such a high level that it is something else. So that does make a difference. To answer your question regarding why I started at the time I started, or what made it a successful effort, I guess it might be just my motivation, which is twofold at the moment. I think it's a difficult one to admit, because I know how superficial it sounds, but I don't think there is any shame in people wanting to look better, and there is almost this understanding that having aesthetic goals is just somehow inferior to having any other goal. And I think this is pretty much the same with our training. Like, we do have to stay motivated, and some of that motivation is just seeing that we can still achieve something more, something different. We have both dabbled in different sports in addition to what we have started with, and it is probably because we just want to keep challenging ourselves. And I think this is one thing that can happen through aesthetic goals as well, that you just want to see what is possible and how you can challenge yourself to do something that you haven't necessarily done before. But then also, I know that I do like my body better when it's a little bit leaner, and I do like having visible abs sometimes, but I just don't really like dieting enough for a large enough chunk of the year that is a reality. Because let's be honest, dieting is hard and it's not necessarily pleasant. Like, even the way I have been dieting now, and I will say that it hasn't been particularly challenging, but it hasn't been easy either. There have been sacrifices that I wouldn't normally think to make if I'm not dieting, and those sacrifices, I just chose the things that I don't mind sacrificing as much as other things. But I chose to do it at this time for a couple of reasons, one of them being some of my clients also dieting at the same time, and I thought it would be quite nice to do it with them, and then just see how hard it is around Christmas. I don't normally diet around Christmas, but I have done it in the past. Another reason would be because I'm expecting to have surgery to help with my breathing, so I thought if I won't be able to train, I might as well diet, because if I will be sedentary, I will have to adjust my nutrition anyways, because my activity levels are usually so high that I have to have a conscious consideration around my nutrition if I am not able to move around. So whether or not it's just changing it to maintain or changing it to diet doesn't feel much of a difference in my mind. And more importantly, it's because I have big plans with my running in the new year, and I don't want to diet when I have to concentrate on my performance, because I want to be able to fuel as well as I possibly can for those training sessions and the actual races, just to see what I can get out of myself. And for me, for that reason, it seemed like such a good idea to diet when it doesn't really matter for my performance, and to fuel as well as I can when it does matter, without putting an extra layer of pressure on myself of trying to drop some weight just so that I can see my abs. And I think it just works out quite well this way, because I'm gonna go into Christmas a bit lighter than I have been before. I don't, as you said as well, I don't tend to put on weight over Christmas. I would be lying if I said I was hoping to lose weight. I will just try to maintain and then enjoy it. But equally, Christmas is just a couple of days, so it really doesn't make that big of a difference. Like, if currently I'm having higher calorie days on the weekends and lower calorie days on the weekdays, and then on Christmas week I have the higher calorie days on Christmas Day and the lower calorie days for the rest of the days, it's gonna be exactly the same. I will just not choose to push my calorie deficit for the entire Christmas week, because there are going to be foods and especially desserts that I wouldn't normally eat at any other time of the year. So I would really like to enjoy those. And then I will be able to go into the new year knowing that I'm in a good position without having put on a bunch of weight over Christmas. If anything, having lost a bit before Christmas, I start the new year in like a better position to then build on.
How long are you going to push this weight loss for?
So that is a little bit of an unknown for me. I do have a couple of scenarios in mind, but it will pretty much come down to what's going to happen after the nose surgery, because I'm not 100% sure of what my recovery is going to look like. So my ideal scenario is that my recovery is pretty quick, so I'm gonna push the deficit this coming week, and then hopefully the surgery happens, and then surgery week, even if I am mindful of my intake, just with the lack of activity or the massively reduced activity, I'm not expecting my hunger to then regulate as quickly as my activity stop. So I believe that the week of the surgery will be actually quite difficult to keep eating in a deficit, just due to the caloric intake that is currently a deficit will not be a deficit anymore because my activities massively drop. So I imagine that will have to be a maintenance week, unless I'm in so much pain that I can't eat, in which case I will drop even more weight. But I'm expecting this coming week, which is coincidentally the week of my period coming, so I will try to push a deficit if I can. I might not be able to due to the hunger increasing, and then the next week after that would be potentially a maintenance week, and then the week after that is Christmas. So if I'm being quite honest, then it is like the luck of the draw between now and Christmas what will happen with my weight. I'm not really that far of my end goal that I kind of targeted. It just another kilo off, but an extra kilogram of loss for me, being already fairly lean, is quite significant.